What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Listen, we're about to get into the 5 most impressive heists of all time, bro. 5 most impressive heists of all time. Now, I know what you're thinking. You hyped for this video, but I gotta show you 2 sides. There's always 2 sides to a coin. There's always the impressive side, but we also got a video where you got the dumbest criminals in history as well, all right? So I gotta give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, all right? So we're gonna check these 2 videos out, man. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the fam, and let's start with the impressive. Then we'll get to the worst.
5 greatest heists of all time. Even if we don't condone them, most people are generally fascinated.
Right, let's say that at the beginning, first and foremost. We don't condone robberies. But, you know, we can go back and judge them, you know, even though I'm always saying we don't, what's the saying that's on my arm? Only God can judge me. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to have some fun with these judgments right here. All right, let's get to it.
With heists, movies like Ocean's 11 and The Sting glamorize these calculated criminal feats, and audiences around the world enjoy watching fictional characters escaping with huge piles of cash and jewelry. But sometimes, these elaborate crimes occur outside of the world of fiction. Today, we're looking at the 5 greatest heists of all time. Antwerp Diamond Heist. The Antwerp Diamond District...
Wait! Did that just say $100 million? I gotta check my glasses.
Time. Antwerp...
it did say it. $100 million heist.
Diamond Heist. Woo! The Antwerp Diamond District is one of the most heavily secured places in the world, with billions of dollars of diamonds changing hands there every year. And it was there in 2003 that one gang of thieves pulled off one of the largest diamond heists in history. Now, even though most of the gang, known as the School of Turin, has since been arrested, the diamonds have never been retrieved.
And then you heard he said, most of them has been arrested. Not all of them. Most of them has been arrested. Somebody out there with that money. Somebody out there with that money.
The robbery was led by Leonardo Notar Bartulo, a small-time diamond dealer, tenant of the Diamond Center, and a thief responsible for many minor jewel robberies. Although police believe he was the robbery's mastermind, he claimed that he was contacted by an unidentified diamond dealer who recruited him for the crime. Notar Bartolo said he was paid to take pictures of the vault's complex security system. From those pictures, the dealer constructed a full-sized replica of the vault. Notar Bartolo states that the dealer set him up with a small gang of Italian jewel thieves, each with specific skills for the robbery. The police are not convinced of the truth of this anonymous diamond dealer. However, no proof has been found to support this claim. The thieves got through the 10 layers of security, previously thought to be impenetrable. They bypassed cameras, the combo dial, the keyed lock, magnetic sensors, the locked steel gate, light sensors, heat and motion sensors, and keypad disarming sensors.
Oh yeah, you can't tell me that they don't have like an inside job, bro. Somebody on the inside had to help them, bro. Had to. Did you just hear everything they got past? Bro, this was planned out down to the T.
They used aluminum to trick the magnetic field and stripped plastic off the wires of the sensor circuits. Then they loaded up bags of diamonds and other jewels. It took 2 hours to get it all out of the building, but thanks to one gang member, things eventually fell apart. That man was Pietro Tavano, known as Speedy, and one of Notar Bartolo's lifelong friends. Speedy couldn't handle the pressure. After unloading the loot into this car, he had to pull over because he was having a panic attack. Remarkably, not a single alarm went off. As security guards arrived on Monday morning, they realized that the thick steel door to the vault was open and 100 of the 189 safe deposit boxes had been raided, with some of the loot still on the floor. The world's only specialized diamond police, Patrick Pays and Agim de Breiker, phoned the vault's alarm company. "What is the status of the alarm?" they asked. "Fully functional," came the reply. However, authorities eventually found Notar Bartolo by watching security footage. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Brazilian bank.
That brings up a question. Y'all know what I'm about to ask. $100 million, you get a chance to get away with it. You got to do 10 years in prison. Could you do 10 years in prison and come home to $100 million? That's not even close. $100 million. Could you do 10 years in prison? Yes.
Bank robbers. In 2017, Brazil's police arrested 16 men tunneling towards a vault containing 1 billion reais, or $318 million, and who were on the verge of pulling off the largest ever bank robbery in the country's history. Authorities swooped just before the alleged gang was able to use its impressively equipped tunnel to enter the safe at a Banco do Brasil branch in the country's financial capital. It would have been the world's biggest heist, said Police Chief Fabio Pinheiro Lopes on Globo TV. Police said work on the tunnel began 4 months ago, starting from a house several blocks from the bank. It had sophisticated supports, fans, and lights. The police believe Alcio Gomez Noriega was the ringleader of the operation. He is a 35-year-old man implicated in an attempted robbery of a security van in Paraguay. The court ruled the group be held in pre-trial detention. Though it's hard to believe, the group dug the tunnel by hand. They loaded the soil into sacks and carried it outside through an underground stormwater drain.
Hear that again? You gotta hear that again. Dug it by hand. You gotta be motivated, bro, for you to dig that much by hand. You got money is a motivator, bro. I don't care what nobody say. That type of money will motivate you.
To enter the tunnel, gang members descended a 2-meter ladder from one of the rooms in the rented house. The tunnel was about 1.5 meters high and was reinforced with iron beams and wood, and even wired with lights. The walls were lined with plastic garbage bags to reduce the dust. The tunnel was reportedly filled with food, water, special clothing, and digging tools. Police were probing whether the gang had the assistance of an engineer when building the tunnel, because the construction was so impressive. The tunnel renewed memories of a tunnel robbery 12 years ago when thieves made off with about $70 million. For the previous heist, diggers worked in shifts from 8 p.m. until 4 a.m., taking a break on weekends. The 3 gang members involved in that attempt were involved in 2 separate prison escapes using tunnels equipped with ventilation and lighting. $500 million cyber heist. Starting in 2009, cybercriminals from Eastern Europe infiltrated at least 100 banks in 30 countries, raking in as much as $1 billion in fraudulent transfers and hijacked ATM machines over a 2-year period. They did so with a mysterious Trojan called Spy Eye. The attackers struck at Russian banks first, as well as those in Germany, China, and the United States. They got away with it initially, but soon authorities tracked them down and they were brought to justice. Alexander Androvich Panin, the inventor of Spy Eye, who went by alias Grybodemon and Harderman Online, pleaded guilty to a court of conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud in January 2014 after reaching a deal with prosecutors. Prosecutor Stephen Grim,
which means he snitched on everybody else. He snitched on everybody else. Yo, he is the 6ix9ine of the cyber world.
said Spy Eye, a preeminent piece of malware developed from 2010 to 2012, was used to infect more than 50 million computers, causing nearly $1 billion in damage to individuals and financial institutions around the world. A second man, Hamza Ben Dalaj, a 27-year-old Algerian known online as BX1, was sentenced to 15 years. Prosecutors said he sold versions of Spy Eye online and used the malware to steal financial information. Spy Eye was a type of Trojan virus that secretly implanted itself on victims' computers to steal sensitive information, including bank account credentials, credit card information, passwords, and PINs. But once it took over a computer, it allowed hackers to trick victims into surrendering personal information, including data grabbing and fake bank account pages. The information was relayed to a command and control center to be used to access victim accounts. Panin conspired with others to advertise Spy Eye in online cybercrime forums and sold versions of the software at prices ranging from $500 to $10,000. FBI Special Agent Mark Ray testified. Panin was the architect of a pernicious malware known as Spy Eye that infected computers worldwide. He commercialized the wholesale theft of financial and personal information. And now he's being held to account for his actions, U.S. Attorney Sally Yates stressed in a news release. Now, many police agencies don't have the skills to effectively track down and investigate cybercrime. Tracking down cybercriminals requires a very different skill set from traditional policing.
And this is why after they come home from jail and they do their time and they get out, they're offered jobs. They're offered jobs because we're not equipped to handle this, and we need them on our side, bro. So it's crazy, but they often come home with a job offer to come work for the government.
Which
basically use your talents for good instead of robbing us.
Limits the ability of law enforcement to go after cyber criminals. It also takes resources and trained personnel, which are, in many cases, in very short supply, says Martin Rosler, Director of Threat Research at Trend Micro. France's heist of the century. French gangster Jacques Cassandre was in court in 2018 for a crime committed over 40 years ago. Police noticed the fact the Marseillais mafioso was the likely mastermind of the heist of the century after he was discovered to be the anonymous author of a book about the crime. On July 16, 19...
Bro, you wanted to get caught. You wanted to get caught. You can't be that smart that you're even that dumb. You can't be.
1976, a group of criminals robbed a branch of Societe Generale, France's third largest bank, in the southern city of Nice. Using the tunnels underneath the city, the gang was able to partially destroy the floor beneath the bank's basement vault and gain access to the banknotes, jewelry, gold bars, and safety deposit boxes located within. According to the Societe Generale's own account of the incident, the brazen criminals spent the weekend taking their time going through the vault's contents, even taking the time and luxury to picnic using the depositor's silverware. He used a pen name, but investigators quickly concluded that the rider was Jacques Cassandre, a key mafia figure in Marseille, where he is now standing trial. He had assumed he was safe because the crime was too old to be prosecuted, but Cassandre is being charged with laundering the millions from the heist, a crime from which France has no statute of limitations. Police found the manuscript on Cassandre's computer, and his children later confessed that their father had often bragged about the robbery. He eventually admitted to orchestrating the intrinsically planned job that involved at least 6 people and 30 tanks of acetylene to fuel the welding torches used to cut into safes and safety deposit boxes. An inquiry found he had also bought furs worth tens of thousands of euros and had once provided a financial...
You know, you gotta shine, you know what I mean? You gotta step out clean, you know, you gotta rock the fur. So people can be like, where did he get this kind of money from? Just yesterday he was wearing pleather. Now today he got on a fur coat, mink coat one day. Like, how?
Guarantee was 7 bars of gold. He has always said it was a novel, and I don't think a court can convict someone on the basis of a novel, a lawyer from Cassandre Frederic Monneray said Monday. But Cassandre and his family members are facing a series of questions on his business dealings, with prosecutors also alleging Social Security fraud and a real estate scam in Corsica. It's not his first time in court, having been arrested in the early 1970s when police broke up the French Connection heroin trade centered in Marseille. $1 million.
You really think they can't prosecute you based upon a book? Ask a lot of these rappers that get prosecuted based upon their lyrics. It can happen, bro. it will happen.
Pharmacy robbery. Back in 2016, the owner of a super value pharmacy in Fort Worth, Texas, rang in the new year with a trashed business missing $1 million worth of pharmaceuticals. The general manager, Jane Lawbaum, said the pharmacy at 720 North Industrial Boulevard was broken into in the early hours of December 31st. The burglars took highly marketable drugs with a street value of up to $1 million, she said. Surveillance footage shows men clad in black crawling and trying to break into a safe. Spilled pill bottles and cough syrup can be seen in the footage, and what appears to be a safe with the side cut out. An employee named Richard Irby said the robber tied him and 3 employees up with zip ties. He said he didn't want to hurt anybody, and we sort of took him at his word, but he's still waving a gun. The scary part, I never looked down the barrel of a gun before. The robber filled a bag with narcotics and left through the back door. Irby knows through other pharmacists the robberies are escalating. Yellow hydrocodone, Soma, and Xanax are the big 3 that most of them are after, Irby said. Irby wonders how long it will be before one of those crooks decides the drugs are worth pulling the trigger. The video ended up becoming extremely popular with over 4 million views and counting.
Dang. They even breaking into pharmacies right now, bro. All right, so I gave y'all those impressive ones. Let's look at the dumbest ones.
So often in Hollywood, criminals are glamorized, such as in the films Ocean's 11 or The Italian Job. Those criminal masterminds seem to be intelligent, charismatic, resourceful, and able to execute their plans to perfection. However, reality can tell a vastly different story. Sometimes criminals aren't the brightest bulbs. Their plans can fail in quite spectacular ways.
Bro, he does not have a box over his head. Are you...
And they have no one to blame but themselves. Today we're going to look at the dumbest criminals in history. So let's get started with the humiliation. In 2015, a man and a woman from Ohio wanted some cash. Rather than looking for legitimate ways to earn some dollar bills, they decided to rob a bank. The plan was well thought out. However, the man had been to prison before and he did not fancy going back. But with his face and neck covered in tattoos, making him recognizable, they had to do something, so they cleverly used makeup to hide the stuff. He stormed into the savings bank. He slipped the bank teller a note that explained that he was robbing them and asked them to give him a big stack of cash. He then walked out of the bank, money in hand, and got into the car where his girlfriend was waiting for him. The heist was done to perfection until they got home. Then they took a load of pictures of themselves posing with the wads of stolen bills.
Oh my God, you're not that dumb. You are not, I refuse to believe they had to make that up about you. You are not that dumb. You are not that dumb. You can't be that, oh my God.
If anybody saw
This video gonna raise my blood pressure, I see it now.
these photos, it'd be pretty obvious that these guys were the ones behind the local bank heist. Good thing no one would see them. Well, this is where their second mess-up occurs. Yeah, you guessed it. They posted the incriminating photos on social media, probably in attempts to show off to digital friends and followers. Well, it didn't take long for the police to catch wind and turn up at their door. Sometimes criminals get media nicknames that really sensationalize their activities. Well, these burglary partners received the same treatment when they were called Dumb and Dumber. Not quite as flattering as most criminal nicknames. Their photos have gone into internet legend. These 2 men from Iowa had one too many drinks one night in 2009. As such, they decided to break into an apartment, only they didn't have anything to cover their faces, but they did spot a permanent pen. So they got all arts and crafty and drew masks and fake beards on their faces. Now they were ready to break into someone's house. However,
Fool, we can still see you.
a neighbor saw the attempted thief and called the police. One of the cop cars spotted a vehicle that matched the description. Officers who approached the car began laughing. The Iowa police had never seen this in all of their years on the force. One of the officers that saw the drawn-on disguises stated, quote, "We're very skilled investigators, and the black faces gave them right away," end quote. So in a weird way, these 2 were actually helping their local law enforcement by making their illegal activities so obvious. What lovely guys. A lot of humans want to be famous. We have so many TV shows across the globe that promise quick, easy celebrity. The X Factor, India's Got Talent, and so on. In 2016, the police were called to a house in Florida due to a suspected battery. However, when they arrived, the man had fled the scene. With technology evolving, the police hopped onto Facebook to find out more about the missing man, and they discovered all the information they needed from his profile. The man was using his wanted poster as his profile photo. Yep. Apparently he was proud to have people searching for him for outstanding warrants. In the comments of the photo, one person warned him that cops can use face.
I got a headache, bro. I got a headache, man. We can't be this dumb.
Look now. However, the man wasn't scared and he added they wouldn't come and get him in Tennessee. He must have been lying about his whereabouts, right? Nope. The police found him right in Tennessee at his brother's house. When they came to arrest him, he had to put his jeans on, and as he did, a small bag of drugs fell onto the floor, and now the police had another charge to add to his list of crimes. A fake cop pulls over a real cop. It sounds like a joke, right? In fact, Family Guy did that gag.
Hey, you're not in uniform. Are you guys cops?
Are you guys cops?
They know we're not cops!
No way this could happen in real life, right? Well, the scene is set in Virginia during 2015. One day in January, an off-duty police officer was driving through the streets. All was calm. He looked in his rearview mirror and realized a car was following him. The car behind him then shone a spotlight on the officer's vehicle. Realizing it was probably a cop car, he pulled over to the side to chat to the on-duty copper. A man got out of the car and approached the officer. Immediately, the officer told him he was an off-duty officer. Instead of getting some kind of acknowledgement, the man got back into his car and sped off. The running man was not a cop. The officer followed and wrote down the license plate number of the supposed cop car, but then the car came to a stop and two people got out and sprinted away. While the officer couldn't pursue them, the number he registered led them to putting a warrant out for the arrest of the owner. Not wanting his embarrassment to continue, the not cop gave himself up the following day. When one sees someone committing armed robbery in films, the word armed is key. However, in the UK, firearms can be hard to come by. As such, one man had to improvise. In 2013, a man walked into a betting shop in Glasgow. He approached the counter and stuck up a long cylindrical object concealed by a sock. He demanded a load of money from the woman at the counter. Even though he had a weapon, the woman refused. Before he could even react, the robber was tackled by another man. This man just happened to be an off-duty police officer that was spending their free time at the bookies. The officer grabbed the apparent weapon. He pulled the sock off to reveal that it wasn't a dangerous instrument. Instead, it was a cucumber. The officer held back his...
I thought he was gonna say a water gun because he showed the picture and the image of a water gun. A cucumber, fam?
laughter, and the confused and embarrassed robber said,
Ain't no groceries on the shelves nowadays because of the pandemic, and you out here playing around with cucumbers, bro. I cannot today with y'all, man.
and quote, "It was a dare. Am I getting the jail for this?" End quote. He received a sentence of 3 years and 4 months. If it was a dare, it was a pretty bad one. In 2001, there was a big increase in people looking to smuggle themselves into America. As a result, a lot of the undocumented immigrants had to get very creative to sneak past the Border Patrol. For example, one person was found in the compartment of a car side door. Yet one case in particular stood out even more. In 2015, the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol released a number of photos of people's attempts to illegally enter the country. In one story, a car was attempting to drive from Mexico to California. Instead of creating a hidden compartment within a vehicle, one man decided to hide in plain sight. He very cleverly
I remember that one there.
he took on the disguise of a car chair, in a similar fashion to a lot of those viral videos that we see today. However, it could have easily gone wrong considering the temperature under all that leather. However, the Border Patrol saw right through the epic charade. They stripped away the material to see the man hiding underneath. His defeated face is easy to spot in the released photos. When a person decides to rob a bank, often they will write a message on a note and hand it to the teller. The note will tell the teller that they're being robbed and how much money to give them. After all, the robber doesn't want everybody in the bank to know what's happening. So that's exactly what one man did in Ohio in 2019. As the teller examined the message that demanded the money, they decided to flip the paper over, and on the other side was the robber's name and address. The robber had just used the piece of paper earlier.
We got to get the schools back open, man. We have got to get the schools back open, bro. Oh, robbery 101. So the first thing you're going to do is give them your name and address?
Earlier at the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. For some reason, he didn't think to use a non-incriminating blank piece of paper. The teller followed through with his demands, but they also even used his name multiple times to kind of give him a hint. But the robber didn't even react at all. The teller handed the robber $206. He turned around and walked out of the building, thinking the whole time, there's no way they can trace this robbery back to me. One day in 2010, an Amish teenager was driving his horse and buggy in rural New York. However, the teen had had one too many alcoholic beverages before his little joyride. Some patrolling sheriff's deputies spotted the teen ignoring a stop sign, so they raced after him in their patrol car. However, the teen refused to pull over, and instead he led the cops on what was perhaps the slowest police chase in history. It wasn't quite fast and furious. For 1 mile, the chase continued. However, the teen ended up crashing the horse and buggy into a ditch, and then he dashed away from the scene of the crime. A week later, the teen was arrested on a number of charges: underage possession of alcohol, overdriving an animal, reckless endangerment, failure to stop at a stop sign, and failure to yield to an emergency vehicle. When the police saw the teen failed to stop, they knew something was amish. See what we did there? Sometimes immigrants are forced out of their host countries, and when this happens, they can get desperate to find ways to stay. Often, marrying a national resident is good grounds to remain. So, in 2015 in Hull, England, a marriage was just about to get underway. As the man and woman were having a meeting with the registrar to sort out paperwork, disaster struck. The groom forgot the bride's name. We've all been there. So the groom called up another man to find out what her name was. Obviously, the registrar realized what was happening. Most people don't forget the name of the love of their life. It was a sham marriage, and the man that the groom called up was a marriage fixer. Someone whose job it is to help set up arranged marriages in order for immigrants to
Bro, you had one job. Remember your soon-to-be fake spouse's name.
remain in the country for a fee. The police arrived just before the ceremony got underway and arrested the bride and the groom. The groom and the marriage fixer received a 21-month sentence, while the bride got 17 months. Shoplifters usually grab small items and hide them in their clothing. It's less obvious that way. When it comes to larger items, people have to get creative. Like this one woman in Costa Rica who hid a TV under her skirt before casually leaving a shop with an accomplice. But for one man in North Carolina in 2012, he didn't want to do anything clever or elaborate like that. He decided to make his theft as obvious as possible. After all, security wouldn't think that someone openly flaunting an item could be a thief, right? The man in question walked into Walmart, went straight to the TV aisle, and picked up a $500 television. He then proudly carried it out the front door, barely stopping for a moment. Security didn't bat an eyelid as the man walked past them carrying the box. Unfortunately, he wasn't counting on the store being full of CCTV cameras that caught him red-handed. And that's it. Which of these stories
Which major department store do you know of nowadays that doesn't have cameras, bro? Stop, fam. Stop it, bro. This is crazy, man. Some of these were just too hard to believe, but we got to get the schools back open, man. Our intelligence has got to be way better than this. You're going to give the people your name and address when you rob them? Huh? That's what we doing nowadays? Let me know. I want to stay far away from you as possible. Definitely, bro. Y'all get at me in the comment section, though, man. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned, man. Until the next reaction, I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay solid. Hey.